Secretary of, yeah, I just want to ask him, what percentage of importation is done by NNPC, or let me say, what percentage of NNPC of importation was done by NNPC in 2012 vis-a-vis private sector in the total imports, and ditto in 2013? Because by my own figures, or what I'm told, that it is pretty much like 50-50. So can you tell us what that is?
Thank you, sir. The proportion actually is slightly more than 50%, because from an import point of view, it's probably doing about 50. But of course, the refineries also contribute to the mix. So I'll be looking at somewhere around 50-55% on more gasoline. But on Kero, it's just so. Thank you, sir.
Follow-up question to that. I was just going through your figures here. If you look at your monthly supply of PMS, and you work backwards, it would suggest that NNPC alone was probably bringing close to 27 million liters daily on a consumption basis. So if you work backwards to that, it suggests that we're consuming close to 54 million liters, 54 million liters daily, depending on what percentage you take. And I think we've been down this road. If you remember when we were doing the first subsidy thing, we had said at that time that we were consuming close to 40 million liters a day. And I think since you resumed, you had suggested that we had come down on that 40 million. But by these figures you've presented, the suggestion is that our PMS consumption a day has gone up now to close to 50 something million liters. Can you come and educate? I'm just working on your figures, the figures you've submitted, to know whether our consumption has gone up or it has come down, and it contradicts to some of the statements you've made in the past.
The consumption has gone drastically down. What you see, actually, consumption is different from inventory. You do have what has come in, what is discharged, what is floating, but in general, for 2012, the figures we've demonstrated is very clear. We did 39.66 million liters a day. So this will not tell exactly, based on what you're looking at, my distinguished senator, on daily consumption based on these figures, because the daily consumption is premised on what you discharge. You have the vessels, as you keep, a vessel that arrived in January may not ostensibly be discharged in January, flows into February into March. But when you analyze it, you come to 39.6. That's what we achieved in 2012. And it was because of that, distinguished senator, as you know, the subsidy on PMS in 2012 dropped to 862 billion. That's physical money, and Minister of Finance is here to confirm that. Thank you.
I just follow up. That's the whole point, because we commended you and the Ministry of Finance for the savings on subsidy over the years. So one will have expected that the figure on the volume too will move in the same direction. But this which you've submitted is suggesting that the volumes have gone up. That's why I'm raising that point. But I think anyway, since the Ministry of Finance is going to have a forensic unit to look at that, I guess they can confirm that when they do.
Thank you, Excellency Chairman.
Thank you, distinguished Chairman, Senate Committee on Finance, distinguished members of the Senate Committee on Finance, ladies and gentlemen. I think we once again thank you for the opportunity to speak to this distinguished Senate Committee. I won't go over the various issues as to why we are here, since they have already been severally communicated. except to repeat that following the joint statement that we issued when we first appeared before this distinguished committee, the relevant agencies, of course, continued with the reconciliation exercise in order to determine the claims arising from the 10.8 billion that was at that time in question. And of course, NNPC will, when they speak, go on to provide a detailed analysis of that. And I do want to point out that the work of reconciling these subsidy claims has been done, as we have said, and signed off by the two statutory bodies that are supposed to sign off, which are PPPRA and DPR, of course, in tandem with NNPC. Again, details of that will be provided to this distinguished committee. They will also go into the issue, of course, alluded to by the CBN governor regarding the NNPC's liftings attributable to NPDC, which we all know is its 100% owned subsidiary, and also the third-party finance liftings, which are related debts incurred for our joint venture projects. Again, these will be clearly dealt with by NNPC. And I did want to acknowledge the very important work that the different agencies have done in clarifying issues that may have arisen through what we feel is a lack of communication. I think that in future we must adopt a much more collaborative articulation of all issues relating to matters of revenue delineation in order to ensure that embarrassing discrepancies and misunderstandings are prevented. But I do want to also make one or two other points based on what has been said so far. And I'll speak extempore here, distinguished chairman. First of all, for years, the issue of the presidential directive given by His Excellency, the late President Yaradua, has been brought up again and again. There was a presidential memo written in 2009. I believe you have a copy of that. At the time, an interministerial meeting was held, and both ministers of